Have you ever wondered how a tiny sliver of land, barely a dot on the map of India, can generate over double the national average wealth? What if I told you that this tropical paradise was the site of the longest colonial occupation in human history? Welcome to Goa. It is India's second highest GDP per capita state, yet it remains distinctly apart from its neighbors, Maharashtra and Karnataka. How did such a small territory become an economic powerhouse while maintaining a soul that feels like nowhere else on Earth? Before we dive into the secret history of this golden coast, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. You are about to see a side of India you never knew existed. Goa defies its miniature size at every turn. It is a land of contradictions, positioned where the rugged mountains meet the endless blue of the ocean. While Panaji serves as the administrative anchor on the Mandovi River, the city of Vasco da Gama pulses as its industrial heart. The language of Konkani binds these people together, acting as a linguistic shield against the influence of larger neighboring states. This is not just a holiday destination. It is a strategic fortress of culture and commerce. To understand the present, we must look back 10,000 years. Human presence is etched into the very bones of the land at Uskalimal. Here, prehistoric petroglyphs carved into laterite rock wait for the world to recognize their value. These are not just drawings. They are the first signatures of a civilization that understood the Mandovi-Zuari basin. Stone tools found in this region reveal a habitation that was sophisticated and planned. Waves of migration shaped the early Goan identity. Indo-Aryan and Dravidian groups moved through these forests, fusing their lives with indigenous communities. By the 3rd century BCE, the world-famous Mauryan Emperor Ashoka recognized the value of this coast. He folded this maritime territory into his empire, marking it as a coveted prize for any ruler who desired to control the sea. Power in Goa has always been about who controls the water. A parade of dynasties followed, each leaving a mark on the soil. The Chalukyas, the Rashtrakutas, and the Kadambas all fought for these deepwater ports. Even the Delhi Sultanate and the mighty Vijayanagara Empire could not resist the pull of Goa. They saw what the world sees now. These ports were strategically irreplaceable. Rather than erasing what came before, each successive ruler deposited another cultural layer. This created a population that was politically agile and remarkably adaptable. By the close of the 15th century, Goa was not a backwater. It was a refined hub of trade and civilization. It was a jewel, polished and waiting for a dramatic change that would alter its destiny forever. In the year 1510, that change arrived in the form of steel and sails. Afonso de Albuquerque did not come to negotiate. Aided by a local privateer named Timoji, he seized Goa from the Bijapur Sultanate. This inaugurated 451 years of European rule. It was the longest colonial occupation on the entire Indian subcontinent. Old Goa rose swiftly as the imperial capital of Portugal's entire Eastern Empire. It was a city built on the labor and the resources of the East, meant to rival the beauty of Lisbon. But beauty often hides a darker truth. The colonial administration was not just about trade. It was about total control over the mind and the spirit. In the year 1560, the Goa Inquisition cast a long, cold shadow over the land. For over 250 years, Catholic orthodoxy was enforced with terrifying precision. Forced conversions and cultural suppression became the tools of the state. It was a period that scarred the social psyche deeply. Yet, in the face of this darkness, Goan resilience only grew harder and more defined. The seeds of resistance were planted long before the modern era. In the year 1787, the internal fault lines of colonial rule finally cracked. This was the Pinto Revolt. It was not led by the poor, but by the Catholic elites. They were protesting racial discrimination within a system they were supposed to be part of. The revolt was betrayed from within and ultimately failed, but its spirit could not be contained by prison walls. One participant, Abbé Faria, escaped to Europe. He went on to pioneer the science of hypnotism and even engaged with the French Revolution. His life proved that Goan self-determination was a force that reached far beyond its own coastline. In the year 1843, the capital shifted. Plague had ravaged Old Goa, forcing the administration to move to Panaji. This move modernized the colonial structure and solidified the borders we see today. But as the world changed after World War II, the Portuguese stayed frozen in time. When India won its independence in the year 1947, the Portuguese dictatorship refused to leave. They ignored diplomatic pressure and they ignored the rising tide of grassroots activism. The standoff lasted for years, creating a tension that felt like a ticking time bomb. The end came in the year 1961. It was called Operation Vijay. In just a matter of hours, the Indian military ended nearly 5 centuries of European rule. The Portuguese surrendered, and the colonial era simply ceased to exist. But liberation was only the beginning of a new set of questions. What would Goa become now that it was free? In the year 1967, the people faced a historic choice. They voted in independent India's only ever referendum. They had to decide if they would merge with Maharashtra or remain a separate entity. The people chose their singular identity. That choice was formally consecrated on May 30th, 1987. Goa became the 25th state of the Indian Union. It was a victory earned not on a battlefield with guns, but at a ballot box with ink. This decision ensured that the Goan soul would never be swallowed by its larger neighbors. The landscape itself is a masterpiece of natural engineering. 7 major rivers and 160 kilometers of coastline create a network of islands and estuaries. To the east, the Western Ghats stand as a wall of green. This region rivals the Amazon in its biological diversity. Over 1,500 plant species thrive here. The Dudsaga Falls roar through the jungle, and the Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary provides a home for thousands of winged travelers. This ecological richness is the state's greatest natural asset, but it is also its most urgent conservation challenge in an era of rapid growth. The economic engine of Goa is a powerful machine with many parts. Tourism is the most visible sector, drawing roughly 12% of all foreign visitors to India, but the sun and the sand are only the surface. Beneath the ground lies an industrial backbone that has fueled the state for decades. Mormugao Port was once the exit point for nearly 40% of India's iron ore exports. Iron, bauxite, and manganese have provided a steady stream of wealth. In the year 1976, the government made a bold and controversial move. They legalized gambling. Today, offshore casinos on the Mandovi River feed the state treasury. They attract high-spending visitors and create a unique revenue stream that other states envy. This pragmatic governance is a hallmark of the Goan approach. They know how to balance tradition with the hard realities of the modern economy. Agriculture still dictates the rhythm of life in the rural heartland. Rice paddies, cashew groves, and coconut plantations stretch across the interior. These fields produce more than just food. They produce feni, a spirit distilled from cashew or coconut that is a protected cultural institution. Favorable tax structures have made the state a hub for the beverage industry. This reinforces the reputation of the region as a destination for leisure. Yet, the service economy has not displaced the farmer. The agricultural identity remains deeply rooted in the soil, surviving the pressure of modernization. Goa is one of the most genuinely cosmopolitan societies in the world. Today, more than 50% of permanent residents originate from outside the state. You will find Maharashtrians, Kannadigas, Russians, and Filipinos living side by side. It is a melting pot that actually works. The culture is a beautiful synthesis of seemingly opposite worlds. Konkani theatre, known as theatre, coexists with the ancient folk drama of Jaga. You can hear the mournful notes of Portuguese fado echoing alongside the complex structures of Indian classical music. Since the year 2004, the International Film Festival of India has called this place home. This has ignited a new movement among Gen Z filmmakers. They are moving away from the beach party cliches of Bollywood. Instead, they are telling unflinching stories about social reality and the environment. The architecture tells the same story of fusion. The Say Cathedral and the Basilica of Bom Jesus are monuments to a colonial past, but they stand alongside Hindu temples like Shanta Durga and Mangshi. These structures blend Dravidian, Islamic, and Portuguese styles into something entirely unique. Even the food is a living archive of history. In the Goan kitchen, different faiths and histories dissolve into a single, harmonious cuisine. You have the fiery heat of Vindalho and Sopotle meeting the delicate sweetness of Bibinka. Every meal is a reminder that culture is not something you keep in a museum. It is something you eat. The political culture of the state is famously combustible. Between the years 1990 and 2005, there were 14 governments in just 15 years. This volatility speaks to an electorate that is highly engaged and demands constant accountability. Today, the state is looking toward the future with massive infrastructure projects. 2 international airports and major expressways are being built to sustain the economic lead. The goal is to move faster and connect deeper with the global economy, but the challenge remains the same. How do you grow without losing the very beauty that people come for? History is not a straight line. It is a continuous act of negotiation. Goa is proof that a place can be conquered, colonized, and pressured for centuries, yet still emerge with its identity intact. It is a place where the past is not archived in books, but lived every single day. If this journey through the heart of the Golden Coast moved you, please subscribe to the channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear about the power of resilience. Leave a comment below and tell us what part of Goan history surprised you the most. Thank you for watching, and remember, the most powerful stories are the ones we live.